We're going to go through some quick troubleshooting to make sure that our plasma cut signs are actually cut ready. Now when you're designing them, you have to figure out what you want, positive versus negative, make sure things are bridged, make sure we're leaving enough material that it's not going to overcut. But we're going to focus mostly on the troubleshooting. So we think that we have this sign all done and ready to go. First thing that I have folks do is highlight it, and we're going to type hatch, and we're going to allow it to fill that in. When it fills that in, all of this black part now would be the metal, and that would be the sign that's left. These inside parts here would be what gets cut out. So it's a good sign if it hatches it. The next thing we're going to do is click on the hatch and hit delete. And we want to make sure that it deletes everything that should have been metal so that we know that we have things properly bridged. So here's another one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to highlight it. We're going to hatch. We notice, okay, that's good. It hatches. We click on it to delete, and we notice that the two inner parts of the B right here did not delete. Because of the way this sign is designed, this big B would be positive. The bob here would be negative, meaning it gets cut out. Now we did bridge the inner part of the lowercase b and the O, but we forgot to do these two parts on the B. So depending on what method we want to use, we could quickly bridge that. We'll do something like that. Draw a rectangle. We'll do trim. And we'll trim out these parts. I do know that I have a line here that I have to get rid of. Whoops, I almost forgot that one. Hit enter. We'll join that. And then we'll try hatching it again. So it still hatches correctly, which is a good sign. But now we're going to click on the metal part, hit delete, and it got rid of everything, which means that now this is properly bridged, and it would just be this part that would fall out, and this part would stay in metal. Another situation we might see, we'll go back to our same sign here, and if we highlight this and try to hatch, we get an error message here. If we click no, we don't want to do that. It's going to hatch it, but we should notice that we have an issue here. It didn't cut out this lower part of the M. So we're going to click on the hatch to delete it. And the next thing that or the first thing, if that happens, that I would have people do is do a select, so SEL, open CRV, select open curves. If I do that, it highlights this curve right here. So we know that's where our issue is. Now we could zoom in, and pretty quick we realize, uh-oh, I have a little piece that's hanging on here. If I trim that off, and sometimes you might have to do a split depending on how your curves are set up. So we trim that off. Let's try hatching it. Okay, this time it hatched properly. So it was that little piece that we had right here that made this an open curve. So that created an issue for us. Same sign again. We're going to do a hatch. Uh-oh, we get the error message again. So we'll go ahead and click no. We see that it does hatch, however, we have an issue over here now. Okay, so we delete the hatch. We do our select open CRV command again, and it shows us that it's on this part here. So if we zoom in, chances are it's going to be at one of the corners. So we zoom in and look. Nothing obvious when we zoom in. If we click on that, we do CRV end, and then CRV start, and click off it. What should happen is our start and end should be in the same position. By doing the CRV end and CRV start, it puts these points here, and we realize, wait a sec, one is an end, one is a start. Those should be in the same place. So just to show you what we have here, whoops, did that. We're going to turn on points. So F10, I have that point right there. So what happened is I had an overlapping vector here. If I trim that piece off and highlight this and try to hatch it, this time it hatches successfully. We can turn our points off and we can get rid of that point. So all that was is we had an extra line right here that was overlapping that we could not easily see. So that gave us some problems. So CRV end and CRV start allowed us to identify that our start and end point were not quite the same. Here's another common issue that we see, especially when we start to use fonts that are script-like. So I'll highlight this, try to do hatch. I get self-intersecting input curves were found, use boundary mode. Click no, it doesn't want to hatch anything. So that tells us that somewhere there is an issue. This was a command that I found online. It's just a test command, but it has really saved us quite a few times. So we can highlight that. We're going to type in test, T-E-S-T, CRV, self, S-E-L-F, intersection, and hit enter. And we notice that puts a point over here. Now lots of times what happens with the script type fonts is you get these weird little loops where it loops back on itself and it won't properly hatch. In the world of actually plasma cutting, this is probably not going to cause you an issue because it's going to be so small that the plasma is just going to ignore it. But if we want to hatch, render, do some other things with our file, it may cause an issue. So a number of ways you could get rid of that. What I might do, just looking at the way this point is out here, I would probably just delete that point. Do an SELPT just to get rid of that one that it put there. Now if we highlight that and we hatch, we notice that it hatches successfully. So it was that one little piece right there. And again, that command, and here we'll write it in text just so we can see it, is test CRV self intersection. We'll go ahead and put that right there so you can see that. Again, it's a test command, so it does not auto-populate. To the best of my knowledge, it's not in any of the menus, but that's one, especially as we work with these script fonts, that have really helped us out.